I see that we're live.
Okay, great. Okay, Mr. Mitchell, would you like to call our meeting to order?
Yes, I assume we have a good many people here. Unfortunately, I was unable to get a connection to join with video, so y'all going to have to understand that I'm not seeing what y'all are doing, but I'd like to call this meeting to order November 17th of the South Fulton Historic and Cultural Landmarks Commission. Marissa, have you had a chance to call the roll?
Let's do that now. Ms. Shakia Guess?
Present.
Dr. Lynn Aniti?
Present.
Ms. Sybil Talley?
Present.
Dr. John Herring?
Present.
Mr. Charles Storr Mitchell?
Present.
I heard from Ms. Ferguson today and she's absent. Ms. Elizabeth T. Miller?
Present.
Okay, great. We have a quorum.
Great. Thank y'all very much for taking your time this afternoon to join us. Real quick, Dr. Herring, would you please just open us with a short word?
Yes. Let us pray. Father God, thank you for allowing us to come together one more time for the city of South Fulton. We pray that all the members of the leadership and all the members of this commission, we pray for all the members of this commission, all the leaders of the community. We pray right now, Father, to allow us to have this meeting and conduct it with the city of South Fulton in mind. We pray, Father, for the commitment that these members have. We pray for the commitment of our leadership. We pray for everyone that is committed to this task. These are the blessings we ask in your son named Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Doctor.
Sure.
I understand. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to review the minutes from last meeting. Marissa, you did a great job on that. I assume that you did that?
Yes, sir.
You did a great job. Anybody have any corrections or comments?
We're
Hearing done. Can I get a motion to?
I'm sorry. I believe Ms. Ferguson submitted some in her email into us, but I don't know that she said there were some minor corrections with spelling and phraseology, but I'm not sure that she actually submitted those in detail. So I suppose we can just make a motion to accept this, because I don't see any specifics in her note here.
Okay. I did not pick up on any. Did anybody else pick up on any potential issues or problems?
No, not from my end.
No.
No, I did not.
Well, if I can get a motion to approve in a second, then we'll move ahead. And then if we need to come back and revisit that, we shall. Can I get a motion to approve?
I move that the minutes be approved as stated with any correction as necessary in the future.
Thank you, Doctor. Can I get a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Thank you for Marissa putting those together. You did a great job. Is our person available with Arcadia?
I believe so.
Yes, I am.
There she is, I'm muting. Now, Ms. Jenkins, I see you listed as Jenkins in your email and Carter on your Zoom, and I want to make sure we have the correct name or congratulations if in order. So which is the correct last name that we should make sure that we use?
Yes, I've actually been finicking with that. Jenkins is my married name, yes. And it's still congratulations, but I can't say I'm that much of a newlywed anymore. So I think it's more of a glitch from my...
Well, we issue...
Go ahead.
Well, we'll send you congratulations regardless. So congratulations.
Thank you. Yes.
Just so everyone knows, Jenkins is with Arcadia Publishing, and we've discussed these books briefly in previous meetings. This is a great path for us to sort of go down, and I know that all of our members are familiar with these products. I have a very brief sort of overview as the potential options for as a group and as a community interacting with your company and producing that. Walk us.
Nathan, your phone is breaking up a little bit. Do you want to change your microphone?
I only have... Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Occasionally.
But if you could just walk us through sort of which doing with these, talk a little bit later about gathering information and about potential costs. So the floor.
Okay. Thank you, Nathan. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
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 Okay. Wonderful. I know we're all living in a very exciting time of electronic meetings, which are filled with fun and mishaps. So if for any reason you cannot hear me, you are welcome to speak up. Please chime in. I'm not offended if you interrupt, or if I can see you on video and you just give me a wave if you cannot hear me or I'm breaking up, please let me know. So that way you all don't miss any potentially important information. So thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Marissa, for sending me the invitation and setting everything up. I appreciate that. As Nathan said, my name is Caitlin Jenkins. Carter's my maiden name. And I'm an acquisitions editor with Arcadia Publishing. So what that means is I'm the editor within the Southeast and Mid-Atlantic region who is in charge of speaking with any interested potential authors or authorial groups about telling the history of, let's say, in this case, their town or their county, potentially a small business, any type of local history that is a player in that local area. That's something that we are interested in publishing. And we're the nation's largest publisher of these types of histories. We have about 14,000 titles and growing of these local and regional histories. I tell people that you may not know Arcadia by name, but normally if you're looking at your screen right now, you might say, oh, okay, yes, I've seen these books. I've seen them in, a Walgreens or a Target. I've seen them at an airport. They're a very popular condensed version of a local history. So we have quite a wide footprint there, which is wonderful. It's really, important as we tell these local histories that we have a good platform and no sort of retail stone is left unturned. We want to make sure that every outlet in the area is going to be able to share and help tell the story. So what I'd like to do just briefly is, now that we've sort of talked about Arcadia, and our history, just sort of talk about the book itself, what the format of the book is. So these are going to be primarily pictorial-based history. So they're going to be those vintage black and white images. All of our books, and again, Nathan, I do have all of this in writing, so I will follow up with you and or Marissa, so that way all the members, if they want additional copies of this in writing, we can do that. Would that be okay?
Absolutely.
Great. So yes, all that to say, I'm going to go through some formatting things and toss out some numbers. So, if you have questions, please let me know. And like I said, I'll send this to Nathan in writing and it can be circulated. So our books have a pretty, set format. It's one of the reasons why they're so recognizable. And that also means that with every book, we have a fairly tight parameter of what is going to be included in the manuscript. So all of our books have around 200 images. It can be more precisely between 180 and 240 images. Those are our bookends, so to speak, of how many photos we can use. So around 200. For text, we're looking at anywhere from 8,000 to about 18,000 words. Those are primarily in the forms of the photo captions themselves. And then, of course, every chapter will have a short chapter introduction. We can have between 3 and 9 chapters. So if you all wanted to proceed, let's say that you have, one person who's leading the project, or you're more than welcome to have, an authorial group, maybe 3, 4, 5 people who are all working on the manuscript together. You all get to decide how you want the book to be organized. 2 are most common, either going just chronologically and, going through time. So you might have, a chapter on the founding of this area. You might have a chapter on, sort of the like World War II years all the way up to present. You also can do it thematically. So you're welcome to organize the book thematically. That's also very common, very popular, where you might have a chapter, say, on churches and faith communities in the area. You might have a chapter on schools. You might have a chapter on local government. You might have a chapter on community events, festivals, fairs that occur every year. So how you want to design the book is up to you, just within that formatting, again, of a certain amount of images, about 200, and text anywhere from 8 to 18,000 words. In terms of images, again, because that is the primary content in the book, you have image guidelines to make sure that all of the images that are going to be used in the book are clear and informative and tell a complete history of the area. So with the images, we do have sort of a very easy to read PDF sort of guidelines of acceptable images that I'll circulate with you all. But pretty much the gist of what images we can use would be first generation images, original images. So, family photographs, if they're, local historical society, county archives, those original photos are what we want to be used. We cannot use things such as like a newspaper photo, for instance, or a yearbook photo, because that is an image of an image, and therefore it's a bit too grainy to be used in the book. But normally when we're working with an area like this, that's not normally a problem. There's not normally a shortage of original images. So we need original images to be scanned. You all are welcome. What's done most commonly now is you all would scan the image and send the electronic scans to your editor. But you can also send original images to us. We can scan them for you and send them back via insured mail. So we do everything we can to make sure that process is smooth and easy for you. Other than photographs, you are also welcome to scan things like original legal documents or court documents, letters and postcards. Those can also be included. So that's sort of a quick overview of the content itself in terms of image and word count and what images we can use. I'd like to just take the next couple of minutes, not too much longer, to just sort of talk you all through what the process would look like. Well, actually, before I'll do that, I'll just very briefly touch on some things such as, costs and royalties. So generally, there is no cost to produce a book with us. When we pick up a book project, we don't charge you any type of fee for, acquisitions, for, your manuscript editor, because you will be assigned a manuscript editor, production, marketing. You'll actually have a sales and marketing team who will help you place the book, in local retail outlets like local mom and pop bookstores, gift shops, any type of community center. And then, of course, we also have a really active national sales and marketing team. So they'll make sure the book gets put into places like Walgreens, Target, Costco, Barnes & Noble, etc. So again, all of those services are included. So when a book is picked up, you would work with a manuscript editor. that service is included. There's no charge there. When you work with marketing as the book comes to publication, there is no cost to you all. The only cost that would be incurred would be one of two ways. One would be if you all have to pay some type of image acquisition fee that, say, for example, you want to access images from a university archive and they'd like to charge you $5 an image to access that. That is not a cost that we cover. There are ways that, if that were to happen, you could always let me or an editor know if we've picked up a book, because generally we can get organizations like that to lower or waive fees. So that's one way that there would be a cost is an image acquisition fee. The second would be if you wanted to do books in a bulk order for resale. That's not something that we have to do with every project. I will say it's something that is done quite frequently for mainly a profit reason. So let's say that you all wanted to buy 500 books at 50% off because you have a large event. I know with COVID times, this may not be happening quite the same way, but maybe there is like an outdoor festival or a fair every year, and you all want to have a booth. You want to be able to sell those books. What we do is we broker what's called a pre-sale. And in the pre-sale, you agree to put down 20% of that book order whenever we contract you. You don't pay anything else at that time. When the book publishes and the books ship out to you all, you can pay half of the remainder. And then 6 months after the book publishes, you finish paying for that book order. You're welcome to pay it all at once, but we find that working with smaller municipal organizations, we want to make sure that you all just aren't going too deep into pocket too quickly. It's just really a way to sort of mitigate your costs, keep them as low as possible, making sure that you get maximum profit. Because as you resell those books, whatever you make, that profit is yours. That is separate from the royalties. So I will say this on sort of a final note of cost and royalties. All books that are sold in any traditional retail outlet, any independent bookstore, if there's a Chamber of Commerce shop, any gift shop, and then any national outlet, any Target, any Walgreens, any Barnes & Noble, you all would get a royalty for those books. So we do an 8% royalty on every book that's sold. The pre-sale is just another avenue to make a profit that some groups do if they know, okay, yes, we have this large event, we want to have a booth with books and we want to sell those. So it acts as a second revenue stream. With a royalty, of course, there's no cost, just royalty. So as the book publishes and sells, you all would be paid out royalties. We pay those out biannually. Does anyone have any questions? I will say that the last thing I'll talk about that'll just take a couple of minutes is what the process would be like from here. So if you all are interested, how to propose this idea and how I would present it to my board. Are there any questions about formatting or costs that I can answer at this time?
This is Nathan. Let me ask one question, and I'm sure that this will vary. What is the typical cost per book? And does that, obviously there's a retail price, there'd be a price if we bought in bulk for distribution, and I'm sure that would vary based on how actually big the book was, but is there some kind of general price range that you have seen?
Yes, definitely. Pardon my fridge, if you can hear that sound. Yeah, so what the general retail of our books are, just before discount, they're going to be $21.99. So, if you're looking at an order of, let's say, 300 books, and we'll do that at, 45% off, you're going to be paying close to half of that $21.99. So you're going to be paying about $11.50 to $12 per book. That's a pretty standard. I'd say on average, pre-sales vary anywhere from the lowest we normally do is 200 copies. The highest might be, 600 or 700 copies. And within that range, the discount is quite variable. But I would say anywhere from 40 to 50% is standard for a pre-sale of 300 to 500 copies. So you're looking at, again, anywhere from about $11 to $12 per book.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Caitlin, you've done a great job. real quick now, am I to understand that we provide you the content and then you help us edit that, or do you actually have researchers that assist with this?
That's a great question. So in terms of writing the content and curating the images, that would be something that you all would do. That's the responsibility of the author. We of course would help make sure that everything is proofed, it's grammatically correct. We would help you organize all of the images. We actually use a very user-friendly template that's sort of drag and drop that allows you to make sure every caption and every photo is organized the way that you all want it to be. And you will have an editor whose sole job is just to help you with the manuscript.
Thank you.
Caitlin, this is Sybil. I have a question about the typical timeline. About how much time does it typically take to create this type of book?
That's a wonderful question. So normally a book will take anywhere from 6 months to a year on the part of the author to complete the manuscript. It varies. We actually allow, we let authors set your own deadline. I'll get into this in a couple of minutes, but we have a proposal form. That's the document that my board will look at to determine if they'd like to pick up the project.
Thank you.
Form, they actually ask you, the author, what is a workable deadline for you? Because we never want to set a deadline that you're really struggling to meet. All of our books publish on a rolling basis. So can everyone hear me? Sorry, I just got a notification that my internet was unstable. Can everyone still hear?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Great. Yes, so the short answer is 6 months to 12 months. The slightly longer answer is, we're very flexible. We publish on a rolling deadline. So let's say you have a 6-month deadline and then you end up needing 4 more weeks. You just let your editor know, and we normally can push that back, no problem. There's no type of, repercussion for a missed deadline or anything. I will say that we take 6 months on our end to, put the book into production, proof it, edit it, and get it ready for printing. So if there is a specific time frame in which you want the book to publish, to note that in the proposal, because that might actually some of when a good deadline would be for you.
Can I ask, Caitlin, is there, you've mentioned a few times about your board picking up a project, right? So is there a situation where we could want this, but the board does not choose to work with us? Or how could that be, or how could we make sure we present the best case possible?
Mm-hmm. It's highly unlikely that would happen, because I don't normally speak with people unless I think it's a project that's going to be approved. It's in line. I mean, that's what we do in acquisitions, is we're sort of the gatekeepers of, who we think is, which idea we think, is the most viable to be approved. So it's unlikely that you all would not be approved. It's more likely that the project would be approved, because when I went through what you all are interested in, it's right up our alley in terms of what we publish. Really, the only times that we don't pursue a project is if it can't be proven that, in good faith, you have access to the images that you need, which again, with this type of project, the scale, this area, the amount of people working on it, the ability to put out a call for images in the community, it's very unlikely that would be an issue. The only other thing would be if we just know that, our print run generally is about 1,000 copies in our first year. And if we really, really see an impediment to publishing around that many in your organization or author, can't help, let's say, do a pre-sale and secure part of that print run, then we won't move on. But again, that's in scenarios where, someone wants to do a hyper local history, like they want to write about a building in a town, or the town maybe has, 300 people in it, and there's just not enough people who really would complete that print run. So those are the only real reasons why.
Let me say this, and I'm going to speak personally as a city staff member and as someone who's working with this board, and I have a feeling I'm going to speak for some of the group members as well, but I would be more than willing to advocate directly to my department leadership and my city, the city council members, for doing a purchase on the city's behalf, and because I know there's going to be a lot of community council interest on this, and I don't think I know that people would want copies, and I know that I have a strong feeling there would be a desire to disseminate those ourselves and have those available. So I would personally be willing to advocate for the city, giving the group a little bit of money to help fund this and purchase a good amount of them. I certainly have no ability to speak for the willingness of council to distribute funds, but I do know that this would be people are going to be very interested in this, and I would have no issue with doing what I could to ensure that we would have a bulk purchase. I mean, I know that even just in my planning and zoning, I'd want to have some copies in the office. I know people would want to pick them up, things like that. So, and I'm pretty confident in saying that the group could raise some funds to secure a bulk purchase. So I don't think that's going to be a big issue. But if there's agree or disagree, let me know on that too. But I
You muted yourself, Nathan.
Nathan,
oh yeah, I was finished.
Okay.
Yeah. Nathan, I concur with your comments in regards to that, and I think each one of the board members of this commission should have a conversation with the persons that appointed them in the position in regards to this project to help secure some funding for this particular project. That being said, I would like to
That's great.
Ask Ms. Jenkins that is it possible to go back over? I know we're going back over something, but I wanted to make clear in my head, because I wrote some notes in terms of the pre-sale for the book orders. And I know that you said you pay X up front, and then 6 months later, then of course, the remainder of that balance. Could you just go back over those two things? I did get the point in terms of the fees that we would have to pay if we went to Academia World and tried to get some archive information. I understand that perfectly well, but I just wanted to focus on when I speak with my council person, I want to be able to talk this business so that I'll sound a little intelligent about it.
Yes, absolutely. Again, I'll back up briefly and just speak to what Nathan said. Nathan, that is actually quite common for books like this, where we're covering, a particular city, and there is budget within, a subgroup or set within the city budget to help, not really fund a project like this, but let's just say that, like you said, that there will be a desire to have the book in certain municipal offices, or you want those copies to either sell or give, then yeah, that's very common, and we're more than happy to do that. Again, it's a pre-sale isn't something that we would have to do. I think this area is big enough and there's enough interest that it's not mandatory. But I do always like to tell potential authors about it, because again, when done the right way, it really acts like another royalty stream, because you'll see a profit from those books that are sold. So just want to reiterate, this is done frequently with books like this because there might be some municipal budget that is able to, supply some of that demand, knowing that the books will sell well in the area. Briefly going back to the pre-sale. So again, in terms of cost to you all, putting the pre-sale aside, there should not be any cost unless you want to access a specific archive and they would like to charge you a fee to use that image. That is the only fee that you all would incur. We don't do any type of advance. That's another thing to mention. So, it is a labor of love. It's why those local histories are normally published by local groups for authors is, you work on a volunteer basis. You're sort of the hero of your town story, and you're working and volunteering to work with an editor in our company to make sure that the manuscript is done. So that would be the only thing in terms of cost. You will get an 8% royalty on every book that is sold. So that's roughly almost $2 a book in terms of how much you're going to be making per book. And I see a green screen. Does someone have a question? Okay. So reviewing pre-sale, you'll have two options if you know you want to purchase however many books for when the book comes out to sell or give away. There's two options there. The first is just to do a purchase when the book has published. So it's publication day. You want to go ahead, and say, hey, the book is publishing today. We would like to buy 300 copies of the book. You will get a discount regardless of that because you're purchasing in bulk. Anyone who does that is going to, get a discount. However, it won't be a discount that's quite as high as a pre-sale. We try and have a higher discount for a pre-sale because you're investing money up front. The other thing with an at time of publication bulk order is you need to pay for that order in full. So if you do not want to do a pre-sale, if you want to say, hey, we're going to buy 300 copies of the book once it publishes at 44% off, that is great. We would tell you, okay, based on our retail discount grid, X amount of copies would be this discount. You would pay for that order in full at the time that you purchase it. With the pre-sale, whenever the book idea is approved and I would send, say Nathan, the contract or whomever is going to be signing the contract on behalf of an organization or as an individual. Within that contract, there will be another document that will already be the pre-sale document that says this person agrees or this organization agrees to buy X amount of copies at X amount of discounted retail price for a total of X with 20% due at time of contract signing. So it's like an addendum that's going to be added to the contract. So once the contract processes, someone from our sales department will contact you and say, would you like to pay over the phone or would you like to just send us a check for that 20%? So let's say you do that. Let's say you want to do 300 copies, it might be 48% off instead of 44% off. So it'll be a little bit higher as a pre-sale. Let's say it takes you 6 months to do the manuscript, and then it takes us 6 months, as I mentioned, all the other things. So production, printing, it's ready to be published. That would be about a year that you're not making any other order payment. So you're just putting the 20% down at the time of contract. And then about a year later, if it takes you 6 months, of course, if it takes you longer, then it's longer, than a year. About a year later, the books ship out and we say, hi, your remaining order dollars. So we need half of that at this time. And then 6 months after the book is published, you'll be contacted and say, hello, can you please complete the rest of your order? So that's sort of a longer version of what that payment schedule would look like should you choose to do that. I will say that, if there is enough in the budget, and again, this is something that, you all can chat about of, okay, what are we comfortable with in terms of how many books we want, what's in our budget. Something that I'll do today, Nathan, is I'll send you some sample quotes so you can sort of float those around. But again, if that's something that you all want to do, we'll just take it step by step. It's a process that we do very frequently with authors and with our book projects.
Let me interject really quickly. I think if we could get a copy or two of a sample book, that would be excellent, because I want to go back to the point that was raised about having each board member interacting with the council member that appointed them. I think that is a really smart way to approach this, to get interest and excitement, and yes, to plant the seed that council, I mean, look, let's say council wants to buy 500 books, or we want to buy 500 books, right? All we're going to need is $6 or $7 grand. So it's not a lot of money for council to allocate, especially if they would know they're getting this quality product in exchange. So I think that if the group members, could interact with their respective council members, have a sample to show them, talk to them about it. And the council will have seen these books, of course. But to say, hey, it's our turn to do this. We're going to be asking for a small amount of money at some point. I think that one-on-one interaction with the council you're personal with, that just seems like a surefire way to get this project started with a lot of excitement and momentum.
Yes, and I'm happy to send some sample books out to you all. So I'll follow up on that separately with you, Nathan, or whomever would like to speak with me. And I will just send me a good mailing address. I'll send you guys like in between 3 and 5 sample books.
Sure.
Nathan, I have a question.
Caitlin, thank you very much. I appreciate your time and your help with this. You've been very thorough on this. I believe, Nathan, what we probably could do is probably approach our development director and use this as potentially a marketing tool and possibly access some funds through his budget. So again, we would still need to get approval through the council, but I think that might be the avenue we might need to approach. Caitlin, you've done a great job of outlining what the opportunity here, and I think it's something we're going to need to take advantage of. Dr. Herring, did you have another question?
Yes, I just have one other question, but I want to address it to Nate if possible. If we receive these fundings, or I should say, when we receive these fundings from the council, they front load us those dollars. The royalties from those sales, where does that money go? Does it come back now to the commission for other projects? Does that money float back into South Fulton budget? Operational
That's
budget?
a question I do not know the answer of this second, but I know the attorney is on the call.
Oh, okay.
Can you repeat that? Are you asking about where does the program income that's generated from the book sales, where does that money go back to?
Yes,
yeah,
the
Christina.
royalties that she indicated that after the sales.
So that would be treated like program income and finance, as well as the council, if you wanted to earmark that money and put it in a separate fund or a separate account, we would have to kind of make that request to have that money held in a special account, but it would be treated like program income, and it would go into the general fund, into the what is called the cash pool for the city. So that's a more technical kind of finance question, but we'd have to work with the finance department as well as with the council to be able to encumber those funds a particular way if we wanted to use them for a specific use.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with what Ms. Cummings said. I do need to ascertain if whether or not there'd be any legal violations, but I think if we have a separate fund that goes back to the city's general fund or I'd have to work with the finance to see how we can work it out and make sure that we don't run afoul of any city policies or any state law.
Right. Okay.
I think we're getting way on down the road here. This would have to be handled through a resolution through the council, and those decisions will be made at that time. And as to the point in time when they approve the funding to move ahead with this, they would also be able to identify how those royalties would be spent. And again, like you say, if we need to earmark them or whatever, the technical issues need to be worked out again with the finance department and the council. So I think this is something we need to take advantage of. We would have a lot of homework on our end to pull this together. I think it's something that we need to look at doing. This is actually kind of putting a lot of icing on something that I hoped that we could do as far as putting together a history of City of South Fulton. And this would kind of put it in a real pretty package.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that. You know, the last thing I will say to you all, of course, if there's any questions, you're welcome to email Nathan, and Nathan, you're welcome to float my email if it's easier. If anyone would like to email me directly, you're welcome to do so, or give me a call. That information will all be there for you. But, you know, once you all decide, yes, it's something we want to move forward with, I will just encourage you, you don't have to have all of your images culled and selected and ready to go. Actually advise authors against doing that. So that way you're not doing unnecessary work before you have the help of the manuscript editor. So really what the next step would be to submit an author proposal form. And that's something that Nathan, I can send out to you today. In that form, that's the form that my board will look over along with notes for myself about picking up a project. So that proposal form is a Word document. It's meant to be easy to fill out. I normally say it takes 2 to 3 hours to complete. Doesn't take too long. And it's going to go over the author background. So, you all would need to decide, and you can have it listed as the city of South Fulton as the author. You can have a group of people on behalf of X. But, whomever would sort of be on that team that would be interacting with the manuscript editor if the book is picked up, I would ask that you be the person or the group of people to fill out the proposal form. And that form is going to go over authorial background. Going to go over potential book content. So that's where, you get to put in a working table of contents. You would send us some sample images, either scanned or mailed. And then the final part of the proposal is related to sales and marketing. So just, really, we don't ask you to do any explicit sales and marketing, but event every year, if there's a retailer who, is going to be, featured in the book, and you'll know that they'll want to carry the book. That's a place for you to just put that information down. And then, it'll be consulted later by the sales and marketing team, along with all of our extensive data of, what retails in the area that we've already sold to. So that form is the next formal step on my side. On the editorial side, it would be returned to me, and I would present all that information to my board. And then it takes about a week for us to know if a project is approved. And if it is approved, I would issue you a contract. And then once that's signed, you would begin working with the manuscript editor. So I just wanted to end there and let you know on my end, interacting with me moving forward, that's what those next steps would be: submitting the proposal form. I would give you feedback on it, and I would present that form along with my own form and data to my board for approval.
Caitlin, thank you very much. We appreciate your time and expertise on this. Real quick, one more quick question. Are there page number thresholds? In other words, are we looking at a document or a brochure that's going to be, say, limited at 20 or 40 or 80 pages, or even maybe possibly 120 if we get really aggressive about this?
Yes, so because we have a set number of images and text that corresponds with a certain page amount. So I'm sorry if I missed that earlier, but again, images, we're going to have anywhere from 180 to 240 images. Text will be 8,000 to 18,000 words, and that gives us a total of 128 pages. So that is the page count. That's actually a firm page count. We always have.
Did I do something?
Caitlin, we missed the last 2 or 3 sentences there.
Okay, 128 pages. That would be the standard amount of pages in our books, 128.
Okay. So we would probably, we're going to have to be very selective as to what we include.
Yeah, I will say this just quickly as a final note on formatting. If you all wanted to do like a hardcover book or, a book with more pages, that's definitely an option. But that is something that, there would be costs there because it's outside of our normal printing parameters. We would almost present it like a private job where you would still have all the editorial support, but you would be, paying more because it would be a more expensive book to produce. So that is an option. That's something that I will put in writing and send it to Nathan so that, if that's something you're all interested in, it will be available for you to look over.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time and help with this. You're welcome to hang around. We're going to talk about, unless there's somebody else, does anybody else have a question for Caitlin? Thank you again, Caitlin. I'm sure we will have questions. We'll feed them through Nathan. And again, appreciate your time and help. You're welcome to hang around. We're going to discuss a questionnaire we're looking to put together to send out to residents that have been here a long time, or just in general, the citizens of South Fulton, to see if they have any historic information that they would like to divulge and provide to us. And Nathan and Marissa have been putting together we've been compiling kind of a questionnaire to send out. You're more than welcome to sit in and listen. And if you have any input, we would more than appreciate it.
Yeah, I would love to. I actually have to take a quick lunch before I have another call. But what I will do is send something to Nathan. We have a call for images flyer that you guys are more than welcome to use. Especially, you can circulate it now without the Arcadia logo. I'll send you both. But once a book is picked up, we encourage authors to, post on Facebook, post online, and we send you a PDF of this sort of one-page call for images, who to contact, and it can be circulated everywhere. So I will send that to Nathan along with some pre-sale quotes, a recap of what we talked about today. And then again, just thank you all for having me. Please let me know if you have any questions. You are welcome to contact Nathan on behalf of me, or Nathan, you're free to send my email to whomever. But I am going to go ahead and go, and I appreciate everyone giving me your time. I know it's a lot of information to cover, so looking forward to moving forward with you all.
Thank you, Kate.
Caitlin, thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Marissa, now moving ahead with the next item on the agenda that you sent out, looking at the questionnaire that we might be able to send out to citizens to find out if they have any historical input. I did receive a number of documents from Miss Miller, and appreciate her being online. She went to a lot of trouble of pulling together probably 8 to 12, I guess, remembrances from historic residents of the Fife community, and they're very interesting. They are written such that they kind of lock you in and make you want to read more. And they were well written in that direction. I think they could be kind of a foundation for this publication, looking at the ones that have been in the White County, Cleveland, Georgia, Helen, Georgia, even as far west as Dalton, in those areas where they have these publications. There is it always seems that they have a section in there where they actually have remembrances by residents, and they go down, they name the resident, and they kind of give this 3 or 4 paragraphs about who they were, what they did, and so forth. And I think that would be very helpful. I see this as being a foundation for the Fife community. If we can compile one for the other communities that make up South Fulton, I think we'll be a long way down the road, possibly to a good bit of content.
Hey, Storm, this is Liz. I just wanted to interject. You know that map that I gave you?
Yes.
It turns out that was just like one day Abner Oakley decides, I believe I'm going to make a map. So that is not necessarily a historical map. So it was just, he had made that map remembering where things were from his 90 years in this area. So I'm not really sure that map would be useful for anything. I just wanted to tell you that I did find that out.
Well, thank you. Actually, we've scanned that in such a manner that if we need to make adjustments on that map, I think if we know historically that one of those locations is not where he has it shown on that map, hopefully he won't mind us moving it to where it was, and for historical significance. That map is is a very interesting map. Again, like you say, it's from what he remembers. But
Yeah.
I do know that there are some items on there that are not where they actually were or are today. Mm-hmm. So we can make those modifications, but we'll need to sit down and agree to what those are. And hopefully he won't mind us making adjustments to his map.
Okay. I just wanted to interject that. That's, what he remembers. And I don't know when he made that map. Nobody knows when he made that map. I mean, he's still alive, but I'm not sure he knows when he did that map.
Okay. It is a fascinating map. I'm reluctant to share. I could put a big preliminary across it and share it with everybody. I'm reluctant to let it get out in case if it were to be used as being a historical document. And again, like Ms. Miller says, there are some items on there that are not exactly as they are. So kind of a little bit reluctant to sending that out from the Historic Commission, considering we know that there's some errors on it. So, Marissa, did you have anything, or are we in the process of trying to compile questions? I apologize, I have not done the list that I intended to do, but do we have any headway in that direction?
So if you guys can hear me, I made a small list on the PowerPoint presentation of questions that we might start with. And I think that there might also be a little bit of interest in creating like a Google Doc or something just for within the commission, so that as people gather information, we might be able to drop it there and discuss it later, and like not publicly, but just so that people have kind of a place to have information or store things online as they come up. Because I think that Ms. Guest said that she had done some research, and I think Dr. Aniti said that she had done some research too on their districts. And so is there a strong interest in having like a Google folder where we can store information? And is anyone interested in perhaps being like the librarian of that Google folder if we do decide to have one?
Sure, I think a Google
that's an excellent thought.
Miss Guest, what were you saying?
Oh, I was just agreeing that I think it would be a great idea for us to have a folder where we can all access those documents or add documents.
Okay, and I think maybe we could organize it by district. So like each commissioner can have a folder for their district, and then we'll have one folder, and then inside of that big folder, like one folder for each district. And as you get information, store it there, and we can discuss it at future meetings if you'd like. But it looks like we just need a volunteer to be the librarian that will make the Google folder link and send it out to the commission.
Good idea.
Do I have a volunteer to be a librarian? Is there anyone that would care to sit in for this?
I can do it. Sure, I can do it. No problem.
Okay, great. So,
thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Guest.
No problem.
Okay, so then I also have a few quick questions that we came up with that we can put on the community survey for those of you that don't have the presentation in front of you. So the first one is, what historic or cultural landmarks in your community should we be aware of? And I said examples include churches and cemeteries. And we're asking, where are they? Addresses, street names, parcel numbers. What makes them important or significant? And do you have contact information for the owner or trustee? That's the first question. Second question is, do you know of any community members with extensive historical knowledge we should interview? I missed a should there, I think. We should interview. And it says, if yes, how do we get in contact with them? Third question is, do you know of historic neighborhoods or districts that we should be aware of? If yes, what makes them historically significant? Is there a community group we should reach out to for more information? And then the last one is there anything else you'd like to tell us? So how do people feel about those questions? And is there anything that you would like to add?
I think you got your arms around a good bit of this. I think though that where we have the opportunity of being fed, like through a fire hose here, when you say, is there a community group that we should reach out to for more information? Because all of the community groups that have been out here, such as Onaro, Sandtown, Cliftondale, Cedar Grove, are going to be your key groups that will pop up. Mm-hmm. And we have some histories from those areas, and especially the ones that Ms. Miller just obtained for the Fife area. I think when we send this out, we're probably going to get a lot of information. How do we want to overwhelm our librarian with having to go through this information, or how do we want to handle this?
Well, I'm thinking that we'll probably have a Survey Monkey, and the responses from the Survey Monkey will go online into a spreadsheet. And after they're exported from the Excel sheet, we'll be able to click a few buttons and organize them and go through and see what's duplicate and what's not and go from there.
That sounds like I wasn't aware that Survey Monkey had that capability. So that sounds like a good opportunity. Does anybody else have any other suggestions or recommendations?
Well, because I'm the person in the Stone Ages and I couldn't be the librarian because I can't use my computer. How does this Survey Monkey work? I mean, I'm just thinking about, like, if I get one of my neighbors who's my buddy, Miss Vanetta, gives me some information. I mean, how does the Survey Monkey pick through this instead of like a person going through the information?
So basically how Survey Monkey works is basically you just get a set of questions and you ask them what they are. And you just ask the questions and people can type in whatever they want. And then the administrator of the form can just export the responses into an Excel sheet. And then you can, on this Excel sheet, you can say organize responses by alphabetically, like look for these keywords or do things. You can like search around in Excel to kind of see like what the responses were and organize them how you want. And so like the end user, like the regular people, like for example, my parents. So my parents might go online, see the link, click on it, and then type in some stuff about our neighborhood into the Survey Monkey. And their responses will just be recorded for whatever they want or however they responded to the questions online. So then like the next week at work, I might go into Survey Monkey, download the responses, and then in Excel, just search for the word Sandtown. So if I search for the word Sandtown at my desk, I just know like these are all of the times Sandtown was mentioned, and this is what the people had to say about it. And then the next day I'd be like, okay, so I need to see what people said about Red Oak. So I'll download it and on the Excel sheet, just click type in Red Oak. It'll find all of the responses that people said about Red Oak. Or I can just type in churches and it'll tell me all the time people talked about churches. And so it's a way to kind of organize the data a little bit more. I'm expecting that we'll get a lot of narrative responses. So it might require some reading, most definitely. But that's how I was thinking to kind of, I guess, look through it.
Well, I guess I'm thinking about my community in particular because we have a very tight-knit community because we deal with a lot of issues in Fife. And I have many older people that do not do internet and do not do the computer. Mm-hmm. So is there going to be like a physical something that's going to be sent out as well? Or how are we going to work that out with, older people who don't use the computer?
I hadn't thought about that. What kind of recommendations do you guys have?
Well, I'm thinking that we could probably take this same survey, right, and really just replicate the questions, in sort of an intake type form so that anyone who does not have access to a computer could simply complete that form and they could mail it back to us, or we do have to figure out how, they can return it to us. But I think if we just create a simple intake form, we should be able to get the same information and make sure that there's access for all.
Okay.
Would that be something, Elizabeth, that would work for your community?
Yeah, I mean, I was just, I was thinking about, because I just, live in my little world, so I don't really know how big, like, I'm just centered on Fife, which is wrong because there are certainly other places in Fife than District 7, which I really don't even know what District 7 is, to be honest. But I will certainly figure that out, and it may be something, I may just have to go door to door because I can't imagine that we're going to be doing like mailing things, postage and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the intake
could be something, a link. Well, again, that goes back to access. If there's some way that we could work with our council members to help us with this, maybe we can look to them as well. But the paper form would probably be, one of the ways that we could still collect information.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of how we disseminate it and how we collect it. That's what we need to think about.
I have a question. I know that the mayor sends out a weekly correspondence to the community. Is there a possibility that we can have something along those lines of what the discussion is at the moment, that we can coordinate with his office and try to secure a space in his newsletter to the community? That might be an opportunity there for us as well.
Oh, no, that's a good idea. Sorry.
And even in the newsletter, there's maybe an option to ask those who are internet savvy to maybe reach out to people who aren't on the internet.
Right, absolutely. So I think all those suggestions are really great, because I was thinking to have that, like Sybil indicated, the paper option, but as we send them the information, to let them know they have two options, that they can maybe have a family member help them do the electronic digital format. And then, of course, if they prefer to just use the hard copy, then to do that. But to make sure they're informed that they have two options, that family member can help them with the digital format. Then, of course, they may have to help them even with the hard copy. Some people are not able to, even write, sometimes because of an illness or whatever, but may want to participate. So we want to make sure they know all of their options.
Now, if we do, you're absolutely correct. However, if we do go and speak with the mayor's office, who would be the point of contact in that regards to make that communication known to the mayor's office?
I can ask I was speaking earlier about my friend, Miss Vanetta Thomas. Mr. Edwards is quite fond of Fife. So I would be more than happy to try to make that communication and ask him about that.
But I think it needs to be a general overflow, because we are focusing on all communities, all districts.
Right.
Okay.
The staff can collaborate with the mayor's office. Okay. We see them all the time. We can talk to his assistants to figure that out. It's not an issue.
Even if there's a collection box in the city hall, I don't know if it's open or, if residents go there, but at least, if we have a collection point, that would be a good place if people do want to drop off surveys. That might be an idea too.
Yeah, City Hall is still closed.
It's still closed, okay.
Yeah, so I think we'll probably strongly encourage people to do it online. But if you can't at all do it online, maybe we can have commissioners maybe collect them from residents in their area. and like drop them off somewhere or some kind of way so that we can get them.
This was a long shot, but I'm just gonna say it anyway. What if we, again, it doesn't mean that we have to actually do this, but what if there was a way to reach people in South Fulton by having a small spot on the local news about a call for historical research for residents, for people who are, maybe not checking their emails or on the internet, if they are aware that we're conducting a historical survey and can provide them with where to submit their historical information, even if it's just a couple of seconds. Sometimes the news media might be willing to help with something like that. That's only if we're able to.
Well, I think that's a great thought because they actually have to do public services announcements. But in addition to that, let's go a step further, I believe, that we have the ability now to, because we all have online services with our religious services. So why can't we talk to our pastors, public affairs person who's handling community issues for the church and go through that piece as well, because announcement goes out from the churches as well. And that would give us a greater scope in terms of reaching the community. Just a thought.
Absolutely. And also, each of us are from a district, and so we can reach out to our council person that originally got us involved and ask them to put it on their email that they send out. They send it out like Dr. Rowell in my District 1. She sends it out probably weekly, and so that it reaches so many people.
Right.
Well, let's do this based on what the collective of what I'm hearing. Dr. Herring starting off with having something in the mayor's newsletter as well as the individual district newsletters. Is this possible, Marissa and Nathan and Dana, to have a phone number in there, just go ahead and have them contact the development department for a survey to be mailed to them? If they're interested, just have a phone number or just have a small blurb, 3 or 4 sentences in there about what we're doing and what we're up to. If you would request, or if you would like a survey, please contact this phone number and we could mail them one. So, secondly, what Dr. Herring
let me say this really quickly. No, go on. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, just secondly, what Dr. Herring was suggesting about utilizing our religious facilities, maybe we could have a dozen to 2 dozen forms left at each church somewhere in the Northex or somewhere, and just a little sign up saying, South Fulton Historical Survey, and just have them leave it there at the church, and then we could pick it up, have the minister or somebody call us and say, I've got a couple of forms here, and then either they could scan it and send it to us, or we can go by and pick it up.
So 2 points. Number one, or 3. Number one, online is obviously the best way to do this for a lot of reasons. Number 2, I have no problem mailing some residents a hard copy, but I would be uncomfortable advertising that because I like if I have to process 10 of those, fine. If I got to process 200 of them, then we have a problem. So I think if there was a senior citizen or just whoever that needed a copy and we knew that, we could reach out to them, or if we knew that, if they individually reached out and had an issue, we could certainly handle an amount of those internally. That wouldn't be a problem. I think the idea of having drop boxes. Yeah.
That's perfect idea. Let's word it. Let's word an announcement to go out in the individual newsletters that contact so-and-so, such and such at this email address or at this website. Then you can say, if you do not have access to web or whatever, you can call this number to have a hard copy sent to you. Would that help take some of that burden off you?
Yeah, I think that we want people to do it online, and paper copies are a last resort. And so we're going to say, here's the survey, take the survey, do it online. If you can't do it online, give us a call.
Having a Dropbox at a church, or having churches and community groups handle soliciting responses from their members is also a pretty good idea. I do have a concern only about again, if I've got to process 20 replies in paper, that's fine. If I've got to process 200, that's a completely different situation. So that's just kind of my thought process there.
And we also have the social media programs that we can make a flyer for to send out to people. And it's possible that we can put on that flyer that if you know someone that needs assistance, that somebody might look at that flyer, there might be a neighbor that might need assistance, that can help out as well.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent thought. Anybody have any other suggestions or comments?
I just had a couple of comments on the survey. I wanted to find out if there will be a place for us to collect, the information, the name, phone number, and email address, so that if we do need to respond back to that person, to that survey participant, that we could do that.
That's a great idea. We can most definitely add that name, phone number, email.
Okay, that would be great. And then under where we have examples, is it possible to include just schools there as well?
Yes, we can include schools as well.
Okay.
That might be another great opportunity for us to reach out. Maybe not as things are right now, but in the future, we might be able to reach out to the local schools for them to do some research with their grandparents and parents on submitting historical essays about the community and what their parents remember or grandparents remember about the community. That might even be an interesting topic to look at in the future.
Yep. And I just had one more question. I had one more question. Since we're especially looking at this project with Arcadia, the survey might be a good opportunity to just ask a question. Do you have any, historical images or articles that you would be willing to share with the commission? Because we want to be able to find out where else can we collect some of this, I guess you said first generation information that we may need as we begin to work on the project. So a question around that might be a good source for us.
Excellent.
Could we send out, myself and Marissa, it'll come from us. Let's do, this could be a good takeaway. Could Marissa and myself send out sort of an updated survey either, tomorrow? Because we'll basically use the slide here. We'll add in the few bullet points we've talked about here. If we could send out an updated survey to everyone in the group and just get any last comments, because if we can get that finalized, even if we don't publish it or post it, right now, to have at least the survey done and out of our brains would be nice to just have that bit ready to go at whatever point we determine it's completely ready to go.
I concur.
Yes,
okay.
That's a great idea.
Yes. We could definitely do that and just have that ready to go.
Great, Nathan. Not to keep everybody, I know we're kind of running a little bit long on our meeting, but one other quick item in new business, and need some help from the staff on this one. If you go back to the comp plans that were compiled when we were under Fulton County, they reference historical data that have been collected across South Fulton. There's a lot of things that were compiled for the Jessica Lavender compiled to justify the scenic byways application to Georgia DOT. Some of those locations are over in South Fulton, but in the comp plan, they've identified probably another 4 dozen, 5 dozen locations in South Fulton that have historical significance. I have not been able to find a resource to know what those are, but they're designated with a resource number, but no description. So hopefully there's something there at City Hall in the archives, or y'all might have opportunity to reach out to some of the planners that were around at that time that might be able to guide us as to where that information is. But
okay, so you're saying there's a list of historical resources or locations in the current comp plan?
In the old comp plan, yes. It's about like a 600-page document.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. That I do not. I'll just figure out what that is. Okay.
I will try to identify that if I can. I may have to send you the entire document.
That's fine. If you, I would prefer it. If you have the entire document, I like everything. So if you have it, send it.
Okay. It is actually online on the Fulton County website.
Okay.
They have the historical comp plans. Yeah. And it's amazing what's still out there. A lot of that information in our area is eroding, is coming off. I guess they're looking for more room on the servers or something. But look while you can.
Okay.
But again, somebody has already compiled a list of historical of locations that they feel were historical at one time, and whether or not they still exist or not, I can't say. But we might be able to use that as a foundation to move forward.
I will definitely do some Googling.
Okay. Anything else we might bring up during? Go ahead.
Zalek, I have one question for you really quick.
I was just gonna. Okay.
Since the new ordinance was adopted, which is amazing, do we have to do anything with bylaws?
No, we don't. The ordinance needed to be amended because it needs to be incorporated in the Muni Code, but we don't need to do anything to the bylaws.
Okay, cool.
I have a question. I know the board discussed financing as far as the book costs and, developing a fund for it. And I'm wondering, we might need a resolution in order to get that passed by the council. So if Christina can send me an email with details and copy the City of South Fulton Finance Director on it, we can work on that.
I think she had to drop for another meeting, but I will relay that to her. And I think the financial stuff might be putting the cart a little bit ahead of the horse, but there's no reason to not be prepared. So yes.
Nathan, I agree with you. We may be a little bit, I won't say premature, but these are items we can be working on. I think we've got to sit down and look at the content and the format of how we want to move ahead with a publication of this nature. What do we want to get across? What are our objectives? Do we want to use it as strictly a historical documentation, or do we want to use it as a potential marketing tool? I agree that we do need to have the historical background in it, but I'm thinking that we might be able to utilize it as a kind of a marketing tool, and we might consider that as we think about our content.
Makes sense to me.
Sounds good.
But thank you for wanting to jump on this as far as getting something in front of the council. I think, though, we're probably going to be a few months out before we are ready to approach the council with a resolution to make this happen.
Sure. Yeah.
We probably need to have, our questions answered and anticipate some questions that we will probably getting from the council.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Does anybody else have anything for the good of the commission?
Good meeting today, everybody.
Agreed.
Anything else we need to cover?
Not to my knowledge.
Well, I appreciate everyone taking the time this afternoon to sit in on the meeting. Thank you, Nathan, Marissa, and Dana for pulling this information together. It's been most helpful and most informative. I think we've got everything pretty much covered unless somebody else has something that they need to bring up. Next meeting I anticipate will be in January.
Yes, second Tuesday in January.
Well, in that case, I hope everybody has a safe and great holiday, and y'all take care. Please feel free to email and communicate to the group as things come up, and look forward to talking with you, worst case, next year.
Have a great Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas,
care, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank
Happy holidays, everyone.
Likewise.
Bye-bye.
Stay safe.
All right, stay safe.